Long ago, when the world was still young and the seas had not yet been charted by human hands, there was a god whose name rolled like thunder and echoed like crashing waves. His name was Poseidon, the ruler of the deep oceans, the shaker of the earth, the master of storms, and the one whose trident gleamed with the fury of the tides. His story is one that has been told and retold through centuries, not in whispers of comfort, but in booming voices meant to remind mortals that the sea was never theirs to control. Tonight, though, the story of Poseidon can be heard differently, as a tale not of fear but of wonder, a long and winding path through myth that moves gently like waves against the shore. Poseidon was one of the mighty Olympian gods, born from Cronus, the Titan who swallowed his children whole. His siblings were swallowed too: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Zeus. It was only by cunning that they were freed, for their mother Rhea tricked Cronus, and later, with the help of Zeus, each child emerged again from the darkness of their father's belly. Poseidon, like his siblings, had tasted the imprisonment of being swallowed alive, and perhaps that was why his nature was always restless, always shifting, never still, as if he remembered being trapped in silence and longed to break free forever. When the great war between the Olympians and the Titans came to pass, Poseidon fought fiercely at the side of his brother Zeus. The earth shook, the heavens thundered, and the sea itself seemed to rage in sympathy. Together, they defeated the Titans and cast them into Tartarus. Afterward, the three brothers divided the realms of the world. Zeus took the sky, Hades claimed the underworld, and Poseidon received the sea. Thus, he became Lord of Oceans, Commander of Waves, and the one who could stir the waters into storms or calm them into glass. It was a fitting realm, for the sea, like Poseidon, was vast, unpredictable, and full of hidden mysteries. Poseidon's appearance in myths is often dramatic. When he rises from the sea, he is said to be magnificent, his hair flowing like dark kelp, his chariot drawn by hippocamps, creatures that are half horse, half fish, and his trident always in his hand. That trident was more than a weapon, it was a symbol of dominion. With it, he could strike the ground and cause earthquakes, a reminder that though he ruled the seas, he also held sway over the trembling of the earth itself. Sailors prayed to him before voyages, hoping he would grant calm passage. But he was not always merciful. Anger came easily to Poseidon, and when he was slighted, his vengeance could last for generations. One of the most famous stories involving Poseidon concerns the founding of Athens. The city was new and in need of a patron deity. Both Poseidon and Athena desired the honor. They each offered a gift to the people. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident, and from the rock sprang a saltwater spring, or in some versions, a horse, a magnificent beast that symbolized speed and power. Athena, however, planted an olive tree, a gift of peace, nourishment, and enduring prosperity. The people chose Athena's gift, and she became the patron goddess of the city, which took her name. Poseidon, slighted by the decision, was filled with resentment, and his rivalry with Athena would smolder through many stories that followed. Poseidon's temper was legendary, but his passions were just as strong. He was known for his many liaisons with nymphs, goddesses, and mortals. From these unions came children who often embodied both the beauty and the wildness of their father. One of his most famous sons was Theseus, the hero who would one day slay the Minotaur. Another child of Poseidon was Polyphemus, the Cyclops who appears in the Odyssey, and whose eye was blinded by Odysseus. The contrast between his children was stark: on the one hand, noble heroes, on the other, fearsome monsters. This duality mirrored the sea itself, sometimes gentle and generous, sometimes brutal and merciless. Among his many myths, the tale of his contest with Odysseus is one of the most enduring. Odysseus had blinded Polyphemus, Poseidon's Cyclopean son, during his long journey home from Troy. For this act, Poseidon harbored a deep grudge against the mortal hero. Time and again, he placed obstacles in Odysseus' path. Storms scattered his ships, monsters rose from the depths, and the journey that should have taken weeks stretched into 10 long years. The story is not only one of Poseidon's wrath but also of his persistence. He was not a god who forgot insults. Like the endless sea, his anger ebbed and flowed but never truly vanished. There are quieter tales too, stories where Poseidon shaped the world. It was said he created the horse, striking the earth with his trident and bringing forth the first of these noble creatures. The horse became an enduring symbol of him, as wild and untamable as the sea itself. He was also worshipped as a god of earthquakes, and in many coastal towns, temples to Poseidon stood high above the waters, places where sacrifices were made to keep the land steady and the sea calm. Poseidon's interactions with other gods were rarely smooth. He envied Zeus's authority and at times plotted against him. With Hera and Athena, he once conspired to overthrow Zeus, though their scheme failed. This rebellion shows that Poseidon was not merely the keeper of oceans but also a god who struggled with pride and rivalry. Yet despite these conflicts, he remained a central figure on Olympus, respected and feared alike. Among his loves, the story of Poseidon and Amphitrite is the most enduring. Amphitrite, a sea nymph, at first fled from his advances, hiding deep within the ocean. But Poseidon sent a dolphin to persuade her, and eventually, she agreed to be his wife. Their union was one of the few in Greek mythology that remained relatively stable, and from it came children who embodied the sea's beauty, including Triton, the merman whose conch shell could calm or rouse the waves. Amphitrite's presence softened the image of Poseidon, reminding mortals that even the most tempestuous of gods could be anchored by companionship. Other tales tell of his anger when mortals offended him. King Minos of Crete once prayed for a bull to sacrifice, and Poseidon sent him a magnificent white bull from the sea. But Minos, admiring the animal's beauty, kept it instead of sacrificing it. In fury, Poseidon cursed Minos' wife, Pasiphae, causing her to fall in love with the bull. From that unnatural union came the Minotaur, a creature both monstrous and tragic. Thus, from Minos' disobedience arose one of the most haunting figures in Greek myth, all because Poseidon's gift had been disrespected. Poseidon's moods could shift like the sea itself, serene one moment, violent the next. Sailors who failed to honor him might find themselves lost in storms, their ships dashed to pieces. Yet those who remembered him, who offered prayers and sacrifices, often returned home safely, blessed by calm winds and steady waters. This unpredictable nature was central to his character. Unlike Athena, who represented wisdom, or Apollo, who stood for clarity and light, Poseidon embodied something wilder and less knowable. He was the embodiment of nature's raw power. When we think of the ancient world, it is easy to imagine how vital Poseidon was. To the Greeks, the sea was both a barrier and a pathway, a source of food and trade but also a place of peril. Storms could rise suddenly, and entire fleets could vanish beneath the waves. It made sense to revere the god who controlled such a force, to tell stories of his power and his tempers, to explain through myth the mysteries of tides and earthquakes. Over time, Poseidon became more than just a figure of myth. He was a reminder of humanity's relationship with nature. His tales remind us of the dangers of arrogance, the importance of respect, and the thin line between blessing and curse. When he gave generously, with horses, calm seas, and fertile lands. When he withheld, his wrath could destroy. And yet, for all his power, Poseidon was not invincible, nor was he all-knowing. He was a god who quarreled, who sought love, who made mistakes, who could be tricked or thwarted. This humanity within him made his myths enduring, for they reflected not only the sea but the human heart itself, restless, passionate, and changeable. As the centuries passed and Greek culture faded into memory, Poseidon remained a symbol of the ocean's mysteries. His image survived in art, in literature, in the quiet prayers of sailors long after temples had crumbled. To this day, when one gazes at the vastness of the sea, it is not difficult to imagine the presence of a god beneath the waves, a figure whose moods ripple through the tides. So the story of Poseidon is not merely one myth but many woven together. He is the god of the sea, the earth shaker, the creator of horses, the lover, the rival, the father of heroes and monsters, the one whose trident could bring both ruin and renewal. To tell his story fully is to speak of storms and calm, of pride and passion, of a power that could not be contained by land or sky. And as the waves of this tale come to their end, it is clear that Poseidon's myth endures not because of one great deed, but because of the endlessness of his presence. Like the sea itself, his story has no true ending, only a rhythm that continues, rising and falling like tides, always present, always vast, always deep. And with that thought, the story drifts quietly into silence, leaving only the calm after the storm, a reminder of the god who ruled the oceans and whose name still echoes softly in the sound of the sea.